Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in these weekly videos, I go over the astrological energies for the week ahead and also use my intuition. But I have noticed that a lot of you that watch my videos are not subscribed. So subscribe if you enjoy my content and align with my energy. And I also just want to throw out there that I will be posting more content about Canada and also going into celebrity charts because I think it is so fun to go over celebrity charts. Let me know in the comments below if you love that idea. I was thinking on picking one day a week and we could do like a celebrity chart series, and every week, touch on a new celebrity. But I do have some things in the works. I will be posting a video about Pierre Poilievre because I've had a lot of people watching my Justin Trudeau video requesting Pierre Poilievre. And I've also noticed that my audience, my Canadian audience has risen. So I will be posting a lot more content on Canada. And I've also started to touch on Canada's chart for all of my lunation videos. And I have timestamps below for those of you who do not want to know about Canada. But at least the option is there for my fellow Canadians. So if you enjoy my content and align with my energy, don't forget to subscribe and like my videos because it does support me and the work that I do. Okay, so let's touch on some of the energy that we're in and moving out of, because last week was a really big week, especially the end of the week where we had the Mars square to Uranus, and a lot may have been shaken up for you. One of my predictions actually for the Mars square to Uranus, and also I posted this on TikTok. You can go follow me on TikTok. I'm pretty sure the link is on my channel, but I post daily videos, and some of my predictions for the Mars square to Uranus was more outages, possibly blackouts, possibly something with the electrical grid, because not only do we have this crazy astrology, but we also have really intense solar flares taking place right now, which can affect the electrical grid. So I think that this is something we're going to see more of. And I did see a video on TikTok about a blackout that took place in Toronto. However, I have not had time to really look into that. So I don't know if it's an old video or if it's even, accurate. But I thought it was interesting. So I'm going to look more into that. But in our own lives, with the new moon in Pisces and that Mercury conjunction to Neptune and the Mars square to Uranus, a lot has been shaken up, and we're really in this energy of ending karmic cycles and beginning new ones. We have Saturn in Pisces, and that new moon in Pisces is extremely significant. It's not an eclipse, but it is the new moon before our full moon lunar eclipse on the 25th of March. And also it is the precursor lunation to the eclipse that we're having in September, because we're going to have an eclipse in Pisces in September. So paying attention to what is surfacing at this time for you is really important. And when I say pay attention to what is surfacing, I mean emotions, thoughts, ideas, people coming back into your life, or relationships showing up, or, things showing up within relationships, even business, career. Like, what is showing up at this time? What are you thinking about? How are you feeling? Are you starting to think about moving in a new direction with your career or within a relationship or just within your life in general? That is what I mean when I say have that self-awareness and kind of pay attention to what is surfacing. Is your thoughts, your emotions. Is there anything new showing up for you? Because that's going to come back around in September and even in 2025 and 2026, because we will have the North Node in Pisces. So this new moon is really giving us a sneak peek to the next couple of years and what's going to be changing for us. And because it's Pisces and because there's so much karmic energy, we are really in a period of time of really surrendering, letting go, getting out of that ego. And egos can be surfacing right now. If you look in the world, the chaos, the disruption, even when I am out in my day-to-day life, everybody seems so irritable and they are completely there's no self-awareness. They're so unaware of what is kind of going on for them. That's why I say it's so important to have that self-awareness, because you want to know your triggers and why you're being triggered, because that's showing you something within yourself that still needs to be healed. And you want to know when you're operating from your ego, so you can get out of that. Because again, I kind of mentioned we're in this energy of ending karmic cycles but beginning new ones, and we don't want to be beginning a brand new karmic cycle from a lower vibrational standpoint, in a sense. So this is about, releasing the ego, releasing all expectations, really trying to release control of outcomes, and that can be very difficult, but it's so important at this time to surrender. Now, this week, we have Mercury in Aries. We have Venus entering Pisces, which is so beautiful because Venus is exalted in Pisces. And on Monday, coming into the week, we already have Mercury in Aries. We already have also the moon in Aries. And then we have Venus later on Monday entering Pisces. And so Venus being exalted in Pisces, having Saturn here, I look at this as really being able to develop beautiful romantic connections, like committed partnerships. And it doesn't have to just be in relationships. It could even be like a commitment to beautiful, creative pursuits or ventures. But because Saturn's here, there's this element of a commitment within this beautiful romantic Venus creative imaginative energy with Venus being in Pisces. Also too, there is mutual reception with Venus and Jupiter, because Venus is now in a Jupiter ruled sign and Jupiter is currently in a Venus ruled sign. So we have Jupiter, we have this energy from Jupiter supporting also this Venus journey in Pisces with Saturn. So I really love this energy. And to be honest, this week, because last week and even the week before was really crazy. There was a lot coming to the surface, and this week is really about self-reflection and settling. There's not a lot of major aspects going on this week other than having the planetary shifts. As we come into the week, we're still kind of moving out of that Mars square to Uranus, but this is really about settling, figuring out now what you want, what you need. That Venus in Pisces wants to get to the core of what she loves. This is about enjoying life, enjoying relationships. Now with Mercury in Aries, this is really going to shift the energy, because we've had so much energy in Pisces, and Mercury in Pisces can be a mixed bag. It can be great for creativity, imagination, dreams, intuition, but it can be really difficult when you're trying to focus, when you're trying to be decisive, when you're trying to, make plans towards something or figure something out. It can be really difficult. And so with Mercury entering Aries, there is this shift in mindset now to go after what you want, to start implementing, start initiating, whatever you've kind of been sitting with. Now, what we want to watch for with Mercury in Aries is impulsiveness, especially while we still have the Mars square to Uranus. We can be wanting to take action on, I love, last week I was talking a lot about being careful about taking action based on the stories that we're telling ourselves. They may not be factual. We could be self-sabotaging. And that was because Mercury was in Pisces, moving closer to Neptune, especially the end of the week. I really don't feel like we are necessarily in that energy. However, Venus and Pisces could bring a little bit of that in, but it's not our mind, which is great. It's not our thinking and thoughts and kind of telling ourselves stories that are not factual, where we then self-sabotage, self-undo. Venus being in Pisces is exalted, where Mercury in Pisces is not. Mercury does not do the greatest in Pisces, so it very much is a better energy to kind of navigate. So I don't worry so much now about the self-sabotaging and self-undoing, but we do have to be careful that we are not acting impulsively and getting ourselves into, something that we cannot get out of with this Mars square to Uranus. So we really do want to have the awareness of that and make sure that whatever we're taking action on right now, because we do have that motivation to do so, whatever we're taking action with and whatever we are initiating at this time, it is aligned with the direction that is a part of our purpose, who we are at our core, because we're also just in this energy of amazing spiritual growth. Like, we're growing. So, and with the North Node in Aries, right? Like, the North Node is in Aries. And if you watch my videos from last summer of 2023, I did talk a lot about the North Node being in Aries and how we would all be going through amazing self-development, self-discovery, and personal growth. And the South Node being in Libra would be bringing a lot of relationships back from the past, or also releasing people in your life that are no longer in alignment. And that really holds true even in my own personal life. We're always growing. Now, also with this Venus in Pisces and Saturn energy, next week we will have the Venus conjunction to Saturn. So we may even feel throughout this week something building when it has to do with committed partnerships or committing to something, whether it is a creative pursuit or project. Now, also, if you know where you have Pisces in your birth chart, this can show you other themes and topics that can be showing up for you with this Venus and Pisces energy and this Venus conjunction to Saturn that's going to take place next week. But I want you to pay attention throughout the week, again, to what is surfacing, because when Venus forms a conjunction to Saturn, there can be something solidifying. There can be something coming together. Now, by the time we get to Wednesday, the middle of the week, we have the moon in Taurus. The moon's going to enter Taurus really late on Tuesday. So coming into Wednesday, that moon will be in Taurus. And throughout Wednesday, that moon is going to move closer to Jupiter. Now, this moon in Taurus is going to feel different, where last month, the last lunar cycle, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, Venus was in Aquarius, now Venus is in Pisces. So it has a more of an imaginative, romantic, creative, spiritual, emotional type of feel to it, where last time the moon was in Taurus, we may have felt like we were wanting to shift and change things based on our values. Because of Venus being in Aquarius, and there can very much want to be this newness or wanting to change something or try something new. Now with Venus being in Pisces, there can be this link with values and emotions, or values and energetic alignment, where things are now coming together. And when the moon forms a conjunction to Jupiter, there really can be some beautiful growth here when it has to do with values and when it has to do with emotional growth, spiritual growth, and what is in alignment with you. Now, as we come into Thursday, that moon, and this is going to be really, really early Thursday morning, I guess, depending on your time zone, because it's around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The moon will be conjunct Uranus, and because at this point we have Uranus sitting at 20 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is no longer at that 19th degree point, and we have Mars at 23 degrees. So they are still in this square where Mars is separating from the square. But it's still like 3 degrees, so it still can feel a little overwhelming. There can be a little anxiety coming into the day on Thursday. There can be anxiousness. There can be impulsiveness too, to be honest, with that Mars energy. And so we do want to be cautious, especially too, because if you're waking up at that time, Aquarius is actually sitting on the ascendant. And so that's the energy we're kind of coming into the day with, which is where Mars is. So The day can feel a little chaotic on Thursday just because we're starting the day off with that Moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus squaring Mars and on the ascendant. So Thursday can feel a little intense. Now once we get to later on Thursday, that moon's going to enter Gemini. So when we come into the day on Friday, we now have the moon in Gemini. And again, this is going to feel different because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Last month when the moon was in Gemini, Mercury was in Pisces. So it can feel, actually, I have to check that because because Mercury's been moving quite fast. Don't take my word for that. I don't actually know because sometimes Mercury can transit a sign, within 2 weeks. So we may not have even had Mercury in Pisces with the moon in Gemini. But either way, this is going to feel different because Mercury was not in Aries. So this is really bringing in this impulsive energy, making decisions based on how you're feeling, but very impulsively. And I hope that makes sense. So be cautious on Friday about emotions really bubbling up and just taking action because somebody, irritates you or, rubs you the wrong way, because that can very much be this energy. So really have that self-awareness on Friday for emotions and decisions being linked. Now, over the weekend, on the 16th and the 17th of March, we will have the Sun conjunction to Neptune before the Sun enters Aries next week, and we begin a brand new zodiacal new year, which is really the new year. This is when we really want to set our intentions when that sun hits 0 degrees of Aries. But we'll talk about that in next week's forecast. But the Sun conjunction to Neptune can be really, really great for spiritual and intuitive growth. Pay attention to your intuitive downloads because there really can be some beautiful insights on this day. Now, this is also where we do, because it's a conjunction, it can be a mixed bag. It's great for spiritual growth and really tapping into the energies around you. But because Neptune can also have that energy of deceptiveness, illusionary, we want to be careful that we are seeing things for what they are, that we are not wanting something based on, or even when it has to do with our ego, because we want to remember that the sun represents our ego. So we also want to make sure that we are not moving in a direction or making decisions, making choices based on our ego, because this is where Neptune can come in and you can think that you're making a decision that is in alignment with you, that all the facts, but we're still in Pisces and that sun's conjunct Neptune. And so this is really not a day on the weekend. It's really not a time period to completely change something, move in a new direction. This really is a time of sitting with the energies until the sun enters Aries. There will be a lot more clarity once we get into next week. And I'm really talking about like really big life decisions. Like, we haven't been in this energy of completely changing your life on a dime. We just haven't, because of all the sporadicness, all the Aquarius energy, all the Uranus energy, especially with, and even the Pisces energy, because Pisces can be very confusing, and Mercury being in Pisces and all of that. We just haven't really been in, and also this just came to me intuitively, we're in eclipse season. We are now officially in eclipse season, and so the energy is very heavy. We're in a time of self-reflection, sitting with energies, journaling, going within, paying attention to our dreams, because dreams can be very big around eclipse season. I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I journal a lot, and I really recommend that everybody journals. You can have a journal for everything. Writing your thoughts down, your emotions down, writing down your intuitive downloads, Yeah, it can really help. And it can also really help when it has to do with reflecting. So, 6 months from now, going back in your journal, you would be amazed on how much you were predicting and how much is coming to fruition. So I really recommend journaling at this time with it being eclipse season. And speaking of eclipse season, that lunar eclipse in Libra is going to be March 25th. So we are now in, and that lunar eclipse is ruled by Venus in Pisces. So we just had that new moon in Pisces. So again, we're still in this very karmic energy, and we want to start to pay attention again to what is showing up, because the new moon solar eclipse that we had in Libra in October of 2023, whatever was showing up for you, whatever direction you started to move in, this is a culmination point. So those themes and topics are going to be coming back around. So if we're talking about worldwide events, that was Palestine and Israel and all of the stuff that happened there. I really think we're going to start to see more surfacing around that in our own individual lives. Think back to that time period, what was showing up for you, because that's coming back around, whether this is a culmination period, whether something is manifesting and coming to fruition, or whether it is just more to the story, because I talk a lot about the nodal journey being a story, and every time we have an eclipse, there's more to that story coming in, because the nodes stay in a sign for roughly 18 months, and during that 18-month period, there is changes, and it is a story that is playing out. And by the time that when the nodes enter, by the time that the nodes leave, that area of life, you're moving in a completely new direction. So we want to pay attention. And then we have the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th, which we did have an eclipse, I believe, in 2023 in Aries, which was the precursor eclipse to the nodes entering Aries and Libra. So you want to know where you have Aries in your birth chart. Aries and Libra, this is going to show you the themes and topics that will be coming up for you, front and center. But now start to pay attention to what is surfacing in this area of life, because there is going to be like a big bang at the end of the month. And one more thing that I want to touch on before I end this weekly forecast is that Mercury is going to enter pre-shadow next Monday when Mercury forms a conjunction to the North Node. So this is our last week of really having Mercury kind of at its fullest. So we do also want to keep that in mind, and I'll touch on those energies. I'm also working on a Mercury retrograde video, which I'll go into all 12 signs. And I'm also going to add Canada in there, because I'm going to start adding a section for Canada with all my videos. So stay tuned for that. That will be posted this week. But this is our last week with Mercury not in pre-shadow. Once we get into next week, the themes and topics associated with Mercury and Aries are going to be very important, because we'll be in that energy for another month. So it's really crazy how much is going on at this time, being in eclipse season, entering Mercury retrograde. Like there is a lot. And 2024 is a lot. Like, I think I've talked a lot about how, like, 2023 was really the year to build your spiritual practice, figure out, do the healing, do the work on yourself, because coming into 2024, you're going to have to use those tools. You're really going to have to lean on those tools to navigate the energies of the year. So I hope that this weekly forecast gives you an idea of the energies for the week ahead and helps you navigate the energies for the week ahead. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you enjoy my content and align with my energy, and I will connect with you in the next one.